Okay, so I am officially recording this game. This one is from the previous season of all of the clan matches in Lords under the whole like Lords League thing. All of these games are in 9.5. 9.6 is out with some major changes to things like scale and stuff like that. So if you want to check that out, be sure to download it. Uh, as far as these games, though, because they're 9.5, this is obviously 9.5. This is one of the earlier clan matches. It involves the two clans. Imperial is the Royal Cravates. Coalition was Rheinbund. It is on Bohemia 2 with 1809 Austria cores. As far as like balance and things goes, it tended to be a fairly even matchup throughout all the season. I think it had one of the closest win-loss ratios between Imperial to Coalition. Up front was Massena, using a very big artillery base, and we'll go over into why that's probably the case in a little bit. Marmont, which is an insanely good 5-pointer. Davout with a fairly standard build around his, I believe it's the 1st Division, because I see a lot of the L5s in there, and his horse guns. And then a non-standard build from Eugene, bringing the full Cav Division, instead of the usual infantry mass. Against them are Rosenberg, Bellegarde, Liechtenstein, and Hope. I can't tell you which ones are which. I believe this is Rosenberg and Bellegarde, Liechtenstein, and then Hope. Hope is the only British corps. Well, the main British corps. There's another 5-pointer, and then Liechtenstein is the reserve cavalry slash grenadier division. Well, 2 grenadier divisions, and then Rosenberg and Bellegarde are both 9-pointers. They tend to be big, chunky mass, some good light cav. I tend to prefer Bellegarde over Rosenberg, point for point, because Rosenberg has, I believe, 0 stars. His infantry is worse morale. You get a lot of men, but there's nothing backing it up. And against Imperial, which is faster than you, has better morale, and big artillery, it's just not a pick that I typically like. At least Bellegarde can stand for a little bit longer. Now, this map is fun because it's a bit of a meeting engagement. Imperial starts over here, Coalition over here, and then all the other armies filter in to reinforce. Most of the Imperial armies are quite far away and have to take these road networks. From Coalition side, they can take either this road and threaten the north, or they can turtle on this line here, or they can even try to do like a wide right flank here. I don't recommend this movement with these particular cores because you're actually moving away from your reinforcements that are up here. And with how slow the Austrians are and how fast the French are, you're actually kind of separating yourself. Another key point of terrain that's of interest is this one here. Those woods can kind of control a lot of different positions for both Imperial and Coalition. For the Imperial, you want it because you can spot into this lowlands here. For Coalition, you want it because it ties in your right, and you can sort of threaten this high ground here. So Imperial chose to stick with their high ground on this side instead of trying to reach this spot here. Some people will get aggressive and try and go for it. With the lack of cav that Massena has due to the high amount of guns he has, and the fact that, you know, it's all 12-pounders and 8-pounders, it doesn't make sense to stay back here and let Coalition kind of make a mistake by pushing out while all of your allies come up to support you. Lots of Coalition light cav to his right, but it should be fairly secure soon enough, thanks to Eugene's cav coming in. That was an insanely lucky hit. Took out all of the artillery here. That's 2 3-gun 5-pounders. I think that just got wiped off the face of the earth. So now there's no coalition guns for whichever corps this is. They can only bring 2-foot guns, so that's all their foot guns. And the horse artillery is about like 1,100 gold or 1,200 gold or something like that. So it's pretty unlikely that they brought additional guns for those. I'm actually surprised there's even almost rallied. Maybe this was 10-pounders, because there's no way 5-pounders would almost rally like that. I would say one of the biggest difficulties from coalition side is the fact that Imperial artillery is just insanely good in 1809, and you can get a lot of it. There's not a lot that can counter 8-pounders and 12-pounders from the coalition perspective. The coalition guns are either 5s or 10s, sometimes 3s. The Austrian weight is a little bit different, so technically they're of equal weight, but the stats just don't align. You know, you can't have 3-gun 70 reload, 70 accuracy versus 2-gun 40 reload, 40 accuracy, and expect to win. The other detriment is that because these are long-range guns, the slow coalition troops really just can't escape the gunfire. By the time that you realize that you're made a mistake maybe in your positioning, you're going to be under fire walking there and walking away. And you can see that these rounds are making it almost all the way to, I believe it's Liechtenstein here. Yeah, this is Liechtenstein's model, or at least one of his generals. So right flank has been mostly secured by the cavalry here, and we can see that they are going to push Marmont this direction. Liechtenstein has come down this way and looks like he's reinforcing the center, and either Bellegarde or Rosenberg is coming to support their opposite 9 here. Don't know where Hope is going. He could go this way. There's one of his cav right there, or he could be trying to filter into the center himself. Overall, when looking at lock on this map, you have the 3, the 1, another 1 here. For coalition, they kind of have to choose to try and draw a line like this almost to try and gain lock, and even then it's a little difficult, especially when they don't have maneuver-based armies with the Austrians here. I'll go and fast forward a little bit because right now they're just scouting each other out. Another detriment would be to try and defend the front edge of these woods. If you're using more than just skirmishers, the difficulty is trying to retreat. So like if you're doing a slight like defense in depth type of thing, with the slow Austrians, you can't effectively retreat out of here while trying to get away with the French. And you wouldn't be able to turn around and shoot because you're in the forest. So just a word of advice on how to maybe negate this forest is maybe don't use it. You have to like either control here and here to make that area work. We did see a French play going into the center here. Personally, that cav probably would have been better just being used as a scout rather than trying to go for the skirmishers. That was a bit ambitious, but they came off overall better for it. I would have expected the coalition cav to catch the lung dog, but Davout is here now, arriving in the center. I think Imperial could do with a little bit more scouting, especially since they don't have a full understanding of what's the situation is. Now we do see Eugene trying to push in to get a better eyes on the situation. But this area over here is a big unknown. I'll go ahead and fast forward again, since it looks like more or less we're having a realignment. Imperial or Coalition is thinking of pushing, it looks like, this direction based on where their armies are marching towards right now to get away from the guns in the center. And Davout is steaming this way towards the three-pointer. So if you look at it from above, you have one direction going this way and the other going this way. Between the two, though, Imperial has the advantage in this type of a maneuver. If only through sheer speed. And not only the speed, but the fact that their center is completely secured by artillery. And they have enough horse guns to try and make like a flexible defense. And then on top of that, they have more guns from Marmont over here to try and hold the big open space. And, you know, Massena's horse guns here. And I believe there's Eugene 8-pounders coming up as well. So that attack has been spotted. They already are sending things to counter it. And Davout is able to more or less push this direction. A little bit of cav play on the outer flanks. Nothing too crazy. This attack might be a little too soon, given the fact that Davout has only just arrived. And they brought all these artillery pieces, so why not just keep blasting away at the Austrians? Let the guns do a lot of work, especially since Davout, I think, is attacking into 18 points right now. Yeah, that's one Austrian army there, and another maybe right there. He is partially supported by Eugene, and, you know, there is the opportunity for Massena to also push down the hill with Davout. And they know they have artillery advantage, so they should be able to make an effective push. It's just coordinating all of these pieces together. An attempt on the guns. We still don't know where the remainder of Hope's army is. It's somewhere in reserve. And we haven't seen Liechtenstein's Grenadiers, I don't think. No. Bit dicey to try and charge into the forest here. Lots of different cav play going on to try and clean out.
Sir! Sir! Our general is under attack!
This is a nice catch by the mule, but honestly, like, it shows exactly how fragile some of Eugene's big dragoons are. The fact that, you know, fresh Austrians could take a full charge from them, and rather than the Austrians redlining, it's the French cav. Now at this point, I personally think Davout is maybe in trouble. There's this attack vector here, and his entire flank is open with a big chunk of Austrians coming down this flank here. I think that's, yeah. So there's Liechtenstein's full force. Davout really needs to have Massena come and pin this infantry here. Especially since the cav is now pulling away, it's tired. and you know, Austrian cav is arriving to pursue here. He's almost fighting into a pocket, so you can see that the Austrian line is like this, and Davout was attacking in this way. If there's a corps that could do it, it's Davout, but you know, this infantry here is basically standing, protecting the guns, and it could project out a little bit more to tie in Davout's left. Yeah, losing models on, you know, Home de Fer and losing the L6s and stuff like that. Somewhat painful for that type of an attack. And more than likely, some of these Austrian lines will probably rally. And they're cheap, so it's kind of not a great trade right off the bat, but maybe long term. See, and this is where the Austrians have the ability to push through this center and divide. And there's nothing there. They're just... Eugene's having to huck in cav to try and stem me the tide here. Marmont is fine out here, because, you know, ultimately it's a 5-pointer. We don't know where Hope is, and generally speaking it doesn't impact to have the 5 tying in your flank. It's mostly just the 10-pointer here in the center needs to engage with its infantry, because Davout needs to fully retreat at this point. It does look like there's been some cav engagements on this open flank here.
Sir.
And yeah, again, losing more infantry here. And this is a lot of Austrians. But these guns are breaking up. I believe it's Rosenberg. Okay, so there's Hope here, way in the back. And the Austrian attack is heading this direction, it looks like, with some additional elements here. Fortunately, they're attacking into Davout, and there's one corps that can tank this type of an attack, it's Davout. A little bit messy. And giving an attack order like that is definitely messy. And this is, if this is Rosenberg, it's a pretty good example of why Rosenberg is not that great. And then hasty attacks by the Austrians are also not great. They need a methodical sort of way of attacking. Grind out the French from a good position, not getting thrown in. This is also not looking too good for the Austrians. French cav is basically swarmed out and starting to create debuffs along this flank by running over their the infantry in the open here. And there's just not enough space for the Austrians to work with.
Our men are running, sir.
Rosenberg is spent at this point. Very expensive light cav going against skirmishers. Just the sheer amount of guns on this flank alone pretty much guarantees that the Austrians can't push here. So, you know, at this point, this is all they can do. Hope probably went this way with the idea that they were going to attack here, and then had to backtrack all the way back over here. And he's only like L2, L3 as well. So even if he brought some of the L5s, it's still not that fast of an army. And now Liechtenstein is attacking piecemeal into whatever's left here, while Rosenberg and Bellegarde are breaking around him. So RC played the retreat pretty well. They turned what looked like a pocket against them, which was, if you remember, this line here. They retreated and now inversed the pocket through cav play on the flanks here, and then solid artillery positions cutting through this flank over here. The Austrians at this point honestly don't have the elements to make an additional attack. The Grenadiers aren't super strong in melee overall, especially compared to the French corps that they're up against. At least per unit. Like some of these Austrian Grenadiers are actually pretty good at melee and things like that. It's just there's not as many of them. Most of them are better at shooting, and they're also not nearly as fast as like L5 Elm de Fer. And they can get countered by dragoons and things like that. So that's the difficulty of Liechtenstein. He needs to be able to stand and shoot, honestly, and grind out some of these cores. Maybe come in after a Bellegarde has been committed, work as an actual reserve, or use hope as your front line to grind out. Yeah, there's definitely an also overall lack of artillery from coalition side. They went for a lot of mass and some decent amounts of cav, probably thinking about a fast game, and it seemed like all of the artillery that they had there was a couple 2-gun 10s here, and then the 2-gun 10s at the very beginning, and that I think was all of the artillery that coalition brought, versus an entire field's worth of 6, 8s, 12s. And horse guns to make quick maneuvers. So this is still a scary amount of infantry stacked up here. Whatever's left of the coalition army is trying to push Davout. But you have to remember the speed differential. Davout can see this, and he's just gonna walk away. And he's supported by Cav, which also can walk away. There's no assets here on this flank that can't escape this army, while it's getting pounded by more and more artillery. So I'll go ahead and fast forward again. We'll see if we can get the final decisive engagement. Davout's also scary because he can turn around and run away, and then once you think you've caught him and are catching up, they'll just turn around and smash you. The ability for him to just always be flexible and win in those situations is pretty devastating. And yeah, the Imperial still has lots of cav. I don't see a ton of cav options for coalition left. Like, look how much space Davout has already put on the coalition armies here. And Marmont is pushing into their rear. What's left of their rear. I want to see all of this stuff from Massena can come into the center as well. At this point, you could attack this vector and this vector at the same time and finish it off. I'm not sure why they turned around here. I tend to not like maneuvers where you march at something and then turn around in front of the enemy. That's just losing models for free against whatever is here. It does look like the Brits are split. They probably brought a very big amount of infantry, given how much we can see as it is. And, it's at least a good contingent over here. Reserves in the center, another chunk here, maybe more over here. French cav is retreated on the right. This is whatever is left of Liechtenstein. A little disorganized in terms of command and control here. Because you're moving at this angle while getting shot from this direction. Oh, there's more Brits over there. And yeah, I think they realize that there's not any hope in making this attack. Honestly, with over half the game to go, and Coalition theoretically could have had lock, they maybe shouldn't have wasted their time with pursuing Davout after they pushed him away from the town. Just create some sort of defense, and then try to get lock, and make the Imperial come to you. Because yeah, the turning away in front of L5 Davout is really, really hard. Oh, this cav can probably come in, sweep up whatever's left.
Our men are running, sir.
So yeah, even more reserves here, but it won't matter long because their front line is collapsing. They could even probably sneak cav around behind at this point, through this gap. Davout is just so strong. And Hope and beat up Liechtenstein just don't have the morale to withstand a chain route like this. So yeah, interesting game, I think. Lots of back and forth, on the fly tactical decisions. It was clear that, you know, Imperial had one plan, and that was to push this direction. Coalition had its own plan, which was to push this direction. And then Imperial was able to seize the initiative and force the Coalition into a plan, or like, into a shape that they wanted. So rather than, you know, Imperial made this plan, rather than containing it and continuing with their attack on Marmont on this flank with Liechtenstein and Hope, they rediverted themselves and then started an attack on this direction here. And the entire time they were under the power of like all of the artillery firing in onto their flank, which, you know, you see an opportunity to maybe kill Davout here, and go to seize it, and ultimately when that attack failed, they had no way of retreating because they had already expended so much to make that initial push that, you know, you have to keep your foot on the gas at that point and keep trying, because there's not honestly a lot more that you could do if you're trying to win it by a death match. Again, like I said, whenever they had pushed Davout off of this area here, maybe they could have retreated back into safety and gone for lock up here and maybe got this one pointer down here, because ultimately they still do control the 3. Just they really don't have anything to project force out. The lack of artillery from Rheinbund makes it difficult for them to, you know, fight a long grind. And they were more or less forced to attack because what else can you do? You have nothing to project power, and the artillery is
The
oppressive.
entire unit
So-
is dead, sir.
Strategic decisions at the beginning of the game, and then unluckiness of losing almost all of their artillery in one volley, put Rheinbund definitely on a back foot. But yeah, like I said, really nice back and forth game between the two clans. Showcased a little bit of non-standard builds from RC, bringing the Eugene Cav Core.
The entire unit is dead,
But-
sir.
Yeah, I think we'll try to do a couple more casts. And like I said, ideally, the casts in the future will be shorter or somehow managed a little bit better, where I can maybe chop them up, the videos at least, to try and make them a little bit shorter and more manageable. Because, like I said, this game happened to be not reaching the full time, but some of these games are like 70-minute LOC games, and I don't necessarily think
We
that
have
everyone
killed their
wants to
general,
see
sir. Now they must break.
all of that in full. Especially when sometimes the games don't have huge amount of payoff in terms of tactical knowledge gained or
A glorious
strategic
victory,
funnies.
sir, is soon to be
But yeah, this
yours.
game was, I think, overall enjoyable. Let me know what you think, and hopefully I can cast some more. But I'll go ahead and fast forward to the end because it looks like there's only one unit left. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll post the end screen and things like that on the over here, but also let me know if you like the annotations on the map. I'm trying that out using the cool like virtual whiteboard. I think it will help like visualize instead of me just moving my mouse around. I can highlight different areas or draw on the map, or draw attack directions and things like that. So let me know what you think about it, and thanks for tuning in.